Hey everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Distinct Authors Talking Publishing. We have a very special guest who is joining us all the way from the UK today. KJ Smith has made her debut in the publishing industry with her release of her book, which came out yesterday on Amazon and other digital platforms. So I hope that you will join me in giving her a very warm welcome. Thank you so very much for taking the time out to speak with us today in your busy launch week. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your book, where we can find it, where we can find you, and
yeah. Well, as you can probably tell, I'm from England, and my accent, people always comment on it, so it's cute. I'm 15, I still live with my parents, and I recently got into the book world last year during lockdown, as probably a lot of us have because we've all been really bored at home. I started with my own Facebook group on Facebook, and I've been doing book stuff on there for a while. And then August last year, I decided to just sit down and start writing. I didn't really plan it out. I never thought I could be an author. I thought it was too much work. I didn't think it was in the realm of possibility for me. I just sat down and started writing, and then I finished it in February, and I published it like yesterday. So and it's single parent, which is one of my favorite tropes ever. I love single parent. And my second book's also single parent as well. So it's been great writing them because I absolutely love single parent, writing kids as well. They're just, I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you started writing this in December and finished it in February. How long is this book? Is it a full-length novel? Is it a novella?
Yeah. I started it in August, actually.
Oh, August, okay.
But I kind of went on and off. I didn't set a goal for myself as such. I just thought, if I finish this book, I finish it and I'll publish it. Like, that's my mindset. So I was kind of on and off from August to December. And then from December, my New Year's resolution was to finish it this year.
Oh, awesome.
And from there, I finished it like 2 months later in February. So yeah, and so it's full length. It's reasonably short. It's 61,000 words, so it's not really long, but it's not a novella either, so it's full length. But
awesome. Yeah. So what did what was your biggest now you said you were kind of off and on to begin with it, but what was your biggest takeaway from writing this book?
It was to just, there's no real way to write. There's no proper way to do it. Just do it how you feel, because when I first started writing it, I thought I had to write down details of every chapter. I thought I had to make character profiles. I thought I had to buy a series Bible and things like that. I thought I had to plan it all out, and that wasn't working for me. That completely killed all motivation that I had, because I felt that every time I wrote, I had to write down everything, all the details that I wrote. Like, I thought I had to make plans for it, and it just wasn't working for me. And that's when I discovered that I was a bit of a pantser. I just kind of take it as it comes. So when I'm writing now, I don't make notes. I very rarely kind of plan stuff out. I have a basic plan in my head, but I just let the story take me, and that's made me write so much better. And I wish I realised that at the start. So just my advice is to just go with the flow. Do whatever you think feels right, because that's probably what's right for you.
Yes. I would agree. I am a pantser myself. I'm learning how to be a plotter because I have 5 series that I'm working on. So 5 different series and 5 different genres, subgenres. So trying to keep it all straight is a little bit interesting. But I think it's actually harder for pantsers to write than it is for plotters, because we are guided by the characters themselves, by the story, not necessarily our plan. So hats off to you to learn that you are a pantser right away, because some people will struggle with doing it. We got to plot it out. We got to do this and this and this. So how did you get in, being that you're a pantser and you didn't do your character Bibles, you didn't do any of those sorts of things. How did you really get into your characters' heads? How did you get to know them?
So the way I plot books usually is I'll listen to a song, and that song will spark a plot. Mm-hmm. It doesn't necessarily relate to the song at all, but I just feel there's a song connected with my debut. When I listen to that song, I can just imagine the characters, like I can just feel their emotions and things. Like it's like I'm in the story with them. I
Yeah.
don't, and I know I've made them up. They're in my imagination, but it doesn't. To me, they feel real. Like I know I didn't decide. Oh, the hair color is going to be brown. I already knew that anyway. It just kind of came to me anyway. I didn't really consciously think about it.
Yep.
The only things that I consciously thought about were kind of plot lines and things like that because they'd have to be realistic. But I didn't really. The characters just come to me,
Awesome.
and I love that.
Yeah, characters I think are probably the easier part of the whole writing process.
Yeah.
Especially when you know them so well. So this is your debut book. Now you've got a second book in the works. When is that? When can readers expect that one out?
Late October, I'm expecting, because I finished it, but I just got to get out to the editor and get it formatted and all that stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking late October because I have to sync my releases in with school holidays, so because I don't want to be doing it in school time.
Yes.
Especially because next year is my last year and I'll have to be doing exams and things like that. So I'm making sure to do it in the summer holidays or holidays, which is why I released my debut yesterday because it's the beginning of summer holidays here.
Okay.
So so that's end of October, like half term in the UK. So that's why I'm pacing it in that kind of time zone.
Okay.
So that's a reason how I've picked that kind of date. But also it fits well.
Perfect. So are you working on a third book?
Yeah. So I've got plans for the next few years because I'm about a quarter through book 3 now, and I'm hoping to release that late February, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay.
And then so I want to get this series out, and then I'm going to take a break because I'll have major exams at the mid-May next year.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a break from author stuff then, but then I'm going to get back to it, and I've got some standalones planned that I'm going to write, I think, and then another series.
Awesome.
That's kind of a schedule.
So this book is the first book in a series. How long is the series?
3 books.
3 books?
Okay. So it's going to be 3 books, yeah.
Okay.
And they're all standalones.
Okay. So is the next series that you're working on, is that in any way connected to this current series, or is it completely different?
It's completely different. I think I've got a basic idea of it. I haven't got anything written down, but I'm thinking it's following a band of brothers.
Oh, lovely.
But it's not connected to this first one at all. So.
Okay. Okay. That sounds exciting. So what was you mentioned that you love the single parent trope, but what was the inspiration behind the characters' jobs, their livelihoods?
Yeah. So the male main character in Heaven and Hiding, my debut, he's Liam. He's a mechanic. I love mechanics. They're the classic sexy guy, aren't they? So and it kind of fit in with the rest of the series as well because his best friend is also a mechanic. His best friend is book 2,
yeah.
And then his future love of his life is a mechanic. So that's kind of it. All kind of seeps in together. Like I plan that ahead. So that's the reason he's a mechanic. And then Adela, the heroine, she's a school teacher, and that was also planned because it's kind of a parent-teacher romance. So she taught his son, and that's how they met. So it's all kind of interweaved in the books. They're important parts of the story.
Awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to tie the books together. Now, did you plan to have each character in each one of these books be a mechanic, or was that just kind of a happy fluke?
No, yeah. Well, I didn't. When I started writing book 1, I didn't necessarily think ahead. I just knew that if there was going to be a second book, I wanted an opening for it. So that's why I created Liam's best friend. That's why I made him a mechanic with the best friend. That's why, because that could open up so many different storylines that I could work with.
Yeah.
But book 3, he's not mechanic. So not all mechanics, but decent part of it is. Okay. And I also love the idea of book 2. She's a female mechanic, and it's quite rare, isn't it? And I thought it was really, it suits in with her personality, and it works quite well. I think, with the book.
Well, that's definitely a way to turn the mechanic trope on its head by doing the female mechanic, because I don't see too many books with female mechanics. Not that there aren't female mechanics, I know a
Yeah,
few.
yeah.
But that's just a very interesting way to do it. So do you have plans now? You, of course, you've got to finish school and that. Once you've graduated, are you looking at going to college? Are you going to, or are you going to kind of pursue your author platform and make that your full-time career? Or do you have other plans?
Well, I think my aim is I always want to write. I always want to be an author. So I think my plan is that I'll just be, I'm planning on going to college. I'm looking into content writing, actually. So I'll write for, so I'm actually looking into that. So I'll go to college and do all that, and then I'll get a day job. But my plan is to just write as a part-time job almost until I'm able to have it as a full-time job, if that makes sense. Until I earn enough to make it full-time.
That makes perfect sense. I think that's a dream for every author, is to be able to write full-time and be able to get, make enough to, to be able to do. So what would you do if, and I'm totally throwing you under the bus here, hon, but what would you do if your debut novel did put you right up there with the ranks of J.K. Rowling or Stephen King? This just kind of exploded, and all of a sudden, your face is plastered all over the magazines, and you become a world famous author with your first book. What would you do?
That would be like a dream come true for me, even though it's completely unrealistic at this point. But I would absolutely love that. Like any author would, wouldn't they? But it also made me feel mixed feelings, because one, I definitely don't, fame isn't something I necessarily want. Like, I don't want to be in complete spotlight, which is why I like the thought of being an author. I wouldn't want to be a movie star, but authors, they're kind of behind the scenes, aren't they? They're kind of, you see their face in the back of the book, but you probably wouldn't really recognize them in public.
Exactly.
But so it's not, I'd love for people to read my books and really, really enjoy them, but probably not to that extent, because I would hate to have that kind of attention. I don't like attention. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. And I think that's a good way to look at it, because I'm not sure if people actually realize being an author is a kind of a lonely job.
Shut the window, it's raining.
Oh, it's all good. We are often, we're often sequestered in our little writing space, and that's what we do, and people don't realize that most of us are introverts until we actually start getting out there, and then we become extroverts.
Yeah.
So have you, the UK has reopened. I mean, with COVID and everything. Have you reached out to any of the local libraries or bookstores or anything along those lines to do some book signings, book readings, those sorts of things?
Well, I think due to my age, I don't think I'd be able to do that just yet. I think I'd have to wait till I'm 18, because a lot of book signings you're not allowed until you're 18 anyway, especially romance. And there's not that many around in the UK. You don't see, it's not as much as a big thing, really. But I am volunteering at my local library this summer.
Awesome.
Which is nice. And then they're all like, we want paperback copies, we'll put them in the library. Oh.
There you go. That's the first step right there, getting your book in a library. So now you've got the first series, you're a quarter way through book 3, you've got a couple of standalones that you're going to be working on, you've got another series that you're kind of playing around with the ideas. Are you planning on staying in the same subgenre, the same tropes, or are you looking at maybe expanding and doing other subgenres?
Yeah, well, I'm definitely going to stick with romance. That's definitely romance. I love romance. I'm pretty sure I'm going to stick to that and still unless something major changes. And I'm writing in contemporary right now, and I like that. But I'm thinking sometime in the future I might dabble in sci-fi, but that involves planning, and I don't do that very well. I think if I were to write a sci-fi, there would have to be a lot of planning involved. I'd have to there'd be a lot of writing down and making notes, and I'd have to fully prepare myself for that. But I have ideas. Like I'd love to write something like that in the future. So if I could feel like I'm in a position to handle it, then I probably would. But for the time being, I'm sticking to contemporary.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Well, congratulations. Releasing your debut, especially at 15, is wow. I wish I'd done that when I was 15, but um, did you find with all of the, all the time that you're spending writing and building your worlds and really putting this together, did you find, even though we have been in lockdown and there's been some restrictions, have you found that it's kind of just taken over your life and that you've kind of distanced yourself from other social activities, whether it's, hanging, zooming with a friend or spending time with the folks or anything like that?
I don't think it hasn't restricted me from anything other than me and my friends wanted to go camping this past weekend.
Yeah.
But we've had to reschedule it to a different time because of my book release. We couldn't do it then. But it just means my friends are so great. They understand and they're willing to change plans if anything comes up. But I'm definitely still able to have a social life and things. I mean, I was juggling it with school.
Yeah.
And honestly, before I got into writing, I don't really know what I did with my day. I think I just wrote. I think I just read for like 8 hours a day. That was it. So I've kind of mixed it in with my day, and I'm an early bird, so I'll just get up early and write. And if I've got plans for the day, then it's out of the way, and I can do those things. So it's not affecting my social life at all, I don't think.
Awesome. I think that seems to be one of the things. And having good time management is a skill that not all of us have quite mastered. So being able to say, I'm able to block in some time to write and focus on my writing, and then still be able to meet my social commitments and that sort of thing is fantastic. I applaud you. I still haven't learned how to do I make time, but it's interesting. So what was the hardest part of all of the process? I mean, the writing part for me is not necessarily the hardest part, but once you get into the revisions and you get into edits, and then you're trying to figure out your cover design, and then you're trying to figure out, your pricing and all of those sorts of things. What part of the process was the most challenging for you?
I think it was probably editing, because when I did the final read through, am I the only one that finds it hard to read what they've written? I can't, I feel like it's like listening to my own voice. And it just, some parts I'll just forget that I'm reading my own book, but then some parts I'll kind of cringe. And I think that's kind of, it was hard to go through it.
Yeah.
And editing is such a long and tedious process. I don't think many people like it. So editing was definitely the hardest part, but I also, obviously being my age, that getting it professionally edited was a struggle as well, because one, we had to find a decent editor for pretty cheap because I don't have my own income.
Yep.
And also with those editors, I, being inexperienced and 15 and trustworthy, I didn't pick a great one. And so that was definitely a struggle for me because she would just ignore me for weeks. It was definitely a struggle trying to communicate with her and get through that, because she was missing deadlines and things like that. So, but it ended up all right, but that was definitely the biggest struggle in getting it out there, because I
can imagine. We have a guest. And that's the thing is if you could, looking back now, now that you've gone through the process and you dealt with an editor before, what would what are you looking for in the next editor? Are you looking for someone who's going to look past the age thing, that's going to be able to meet your deadlines, those sorts of things? Or do you feel that you've kind of, been soured on the whole editor experience?
Yeah. Well, I've got another editor, and as long as they communicate with me, I'm fine with it. If they miss a deadline, I'm kind of all right, as long as it's not a major one, as long as they tell me about it beforehand, as long as they kind of warn me and let me know about it, and if they communicate it, it's great. But it has definitely been a struggle finding editors, because I've been declined by so many because of my age. So it's definitely once I'm hoping this one is a good one. She is. I think she is. She's got good impressions on me. So once I find a good one that's willing to work with me, then I'll probably stick to them, because it has been ridiculously challenging trying to find one.
Now, were you able to find one in the UK, or did you have to look outside of the UK to find your editor, your current editor that you've got?
I could probably find one here in the UK, but I'd rather get one based in America, because one thing that I've struggled with writing is I write in American English,
Yeah.
but obviously I'm British, so all of my spellings and things are a little bit different, well, most of them anyway. So there's certain things that editors have to look in my writing, and it'll be a lot easier for an American editor to spot those little different spellings than a British editor, I think. So that's definitely one of the reasons I wanted an American one.
Yes, I can relate to that struggle. I'm Canadian and we spell Canadian.
Yeah.
I use Canadianisms and then they're like, what is this?
Yeah.
So I can imagine that would be the struggle that you would have to find. So what about your folks? What are their thoughts? Are they excited? Are they nervous? Are they, were they supportive?
My parents are absolutely amazing. So they've supported me through the whole thing. Awesome. Literally every step of the way. My dad, he's bless him, he doesn't read romance, but he's currently reading my book and he's not enjoying it because it's romance. He's not a fan of it. But he's reading it because he loves me, and yeah, that's really sweet. I love him for that. And my mum, she's a romance reader. She's in, actually yesterday, I've got a book group on Facebook, and she put in my book group yesterday, kind of congratulating me and telling me how proud she was of me in this book group. And everyone was like, "You're such a sweet mum to Kelsey. I wish my mum was like this." So they're both absolutely great. And my little brother, he's also so supportive. It was really funny because he doesn't understand any of it. And when I was having issues with my editor, I was like, I have got to find a new editor, but it's going to be really quick because the release is soon and like things like that. And he was like, just get your English teacher to edit it. They're an English teacher, surely they'd be able to do it. So in his 12-year-old mind, that's how it works. That's so sweet.
It's just slightly different there. I mean, it would work in a pinch, but just a little. That's awesome. So many authors, I think, struggle to get the support of family, just because they don't understand the struggle. The struggle is very real. So your next book is coming out in October. Your first book is available now. What is the full title of your first book? Where can we find it? Is it available in ebook? Is it available in print? Are you going to be doing audiobook at some point?
Well, so it's called Heaven in Hiding, and my pen name is KG Smith, and it's available on Kindle Unlimited at the moment. But I'm thinking at some point, once the whole series is released, I'm thinking of going wide with the whole series.
Okay.
But I'm not entirely sure on that yet. It's in Kindle Unlimited for the time being, at least. So it's on Kindle Unlimited. It's not available in print just yet. I'm working on that. The cover is not cooperating with me. The full wrap cover not working. So I design my own cover. So I've had to do all that as well, and it's not cooperating with me at the moment. So I'm working that out now. And it might come to audio, but it'll probably be a long time off because getting narrators and things like that in, it's expensive. And being a 15-year-old with no job, it's kind of hard for that. And also I don't really listen to audiobooks at all, so I don't really have experience in them yet, so I'd have to listen to quite a few to gain an insight. So that if it does come out in audio, it'll be quite a while away.
Awesome. Okay. So where can we find you? Where can we socially acceptably stalk you on social media, website? Do you have a newsletter? Give us all of those details.
So I've got a website. It's just KG Smith Author website. You'll probably be able to find it. Google it. I'm KG Smith Author on Facebook, on Instagram, sorry, and KG Smith on Facebook. I've got a reader group called KG Smith's Knockout Readers on Facebook, and on my Instagram, in my link in bio, you can find like street team signups. I'm also an author for the Romance Writers Support League blog. So you can find some things on there as well, written by me. There was one that I wrote called Navigating the Author World as a Minor. So it kind of gives you insight as to what it's like being so young and publishing. So I think that covers all of it. I think I'm KG Smith Author on TikTok as well.
Awesome, excellent. So I will have the link, I will have all of her links in the description box and on the blog as well. So you guys will be able to find her and get her book. Thank you so very much, KG, for joining us, taking the time out of your busy schedule. Congratulations once again, double congratulations for navigating the industry as a minor and doing the debut while doing school. And oh my goodness. Thank you again. I'm so excited to have you on the show today, and I do hope that you will join me again in a little later in the year when your next book comes out, so we can chat a little bit more and see what more you have learned and all those good things. So thank you so very much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any questions for KG, please put them in the comment section below, and we will get to them as quickly as we can. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Follow us on our podcast channel, YouTube channel, and on social media as well. Thanks again, and we will talk to everyone very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.